two chapters today, and that is Elf Tales and Lord Voldemort's Request. And we are now starting to sort of funnel our way into what the end result of this book is going to be. Because again, we've had that crucial crisis that's now sort of triggered, oh shit, things are happening. And this is actually one of the last couple of chapters where we're going to see more wholly sort of mundane moments. After this point in time, everything's going to start tumbling into itself as really key things start to happen. This is the last Quidditch match we're going to see. There is going to occur another Quidditch match, but Harry's not going to be at it, so we're not going to get to see it. And it's sort of interesting that this Quidditch match for Harry ends so quickly. With a cracked skull. I love how everyone's just so nonchalant about that. Like, okay. Sure. But the key thing in this moment is what we actually have happening in this recognition of, oh shit, things are happening, is an allotment of resources. We've got our major generals starting to sort of line up key bits of how they're actually going to figure this stuff out. And are willing to sort of step away from the things that they can't handle right now and focus on the key things that they think are important. And it's pretty interesting because, of course, those things are starting to clash with the other generals on the field. There's a reason why in chess there's usually only one king and queen. Because it's hard when you've got multiple leaders. In this moment, most clearly, we actually have three. We have Voldemort, who again still is on the fringe, and we're seeing sort of his past allotment of resources. Albus Dumbledore, who we see as the other key leader of the light side against Voldemort, and Harry Potter is coming into his position as sort of leader and chosen one in this moment. And he's actually sort of getting to the point where he's just like, okay, let's reevaluate who I have helping me here. With the Quidditch team, he's sort of lost control of them, and that's sort of all fallen to bits. Both Ron and Hermione, even though they're talking to each other now, aren't, again, taking Harry's concerns seriously. They see him as being very obsessed. He has people like McLaggen and Lavender Brown who are just constantly sort of coming at him. And so finally he's just like, I just need somebody who is going to do what I asked them to do without constantly, like, questioning me and giving me advice. And he comes up with, initially, of course, Crutcher, because Crutcher has to obey him. He is bound to the head of House Black, and that is Harry in this moment. And Dobby comes along with him, being the more loyal at this point of the two. And Harry finally gets this brilliant idea of, I can get other eyes on this question, and I can get people looking out for what my interests are and gathering the proof I need. This is sort of a key change for Harry in making this decision of calling Crutcher and Dobby in and asking for their assistance. Well, with Crutcher he sort of has to, again, command him and be very careful to close those loopholes of what's going on. But with Dobby, he really does ask him. He says directly, Dobby, I can't order you to do anything. And Dobby's just like, Dobby wants to help. Let's do this. And we know Dobby's going to be honest about these things because Dobby has seen what the Malfoys are capable of. While everyone else is writing off this concern, I don't think Dobby's liable to. Because he's been there, he's seen sort of the worst of this family, so he's willing to take a look and say, there are some possibilities. And Crutcher is from a dark family. He's going to recognize these moments. And again, the fact that at this point in time, Crutcher would rather work with Draco then with Harry, says something. And then that's sort of the interesting thing, because we then go into Dumbledore's office, and Dumbledore is, again, recognizing himself as being in command. And he's asked Harry to do something, and Harry's failed to do it. So all the trouble that Harry is having with his own friends and allies, he's failed to recognize as actually being applicable to himself until this moment where Dumbledore's looking at him like really disappointed in him. Like, no, this is key information. And it's important. It's important. And the interesting thing is, we do get the wider sort of vision through Hagrid that Dumbledore is allotting different people to different things. Snape, he's got watching the Slytherins, so he's not expecting Harry to do that. Just like he's got Remus talking to the werewolves and Hagrid talking to the giants. He's expecting people to do the job he has asked them to do. At the same time, failing to recognize the position that Harry's in as this expected chosen one is pushing him to be more active and not just to obey these requests. So yes, Harry has these moments where 1,000 other things come at him and he's focused on those. So Dumbledore sitting him down and saying, this is key information that we need, he really does need to remind Harry about that, because Harry's allotting his own resources but failing to consider that he needs to allot them in line with Albus Dumbledore. But we've got that. We've got this moment, most particularly when we then have these memories even more fully of what Voldemort is capable of and what he's become. We're watching this degradation of him physically, and the handsomeness disappearing as he's diving into some very serious magical places that he probably shouldn't. So Harry being able to view prior consequences of failure to act, then goes, okay, yeah, I need to figure this out. So we're actually starting a much more active section of this novel, all the way to the end, as both Harry and Dumbledore now start to align to each other, while still keeping their own allotted resources sort of free and clear of each other. Harry still doesn't trust Professor Snape, or probably a lot of people that Dumbledore's got running around. And Dumbledore's not considering the fact that Harry's probably called these house elves to him to operate as his eyes and ears. It's a really key thing that's happening here, that they're now moving in sync while still also maintaining some independence from each other, but in an active role. Neither of them are sort of sitting back and watching. They're both being active at this moment, though to us, simply because we are following Harry, it looks like Harry's being more active of the two. Oh, yeah, no, we went from being, like, drifting to, oh, people's lives are, oh, okay. And that's sort of one of the interesting moments, is when the Weasleys come in and say, like, you saved Ginny, and you saved Mr. Weasley, and you saved Ron. That's sort of a, like, flag that we've now hit. The pinnacle of the action for the novel is, oh, saving people's thing has come up. Let's do it! Oh, Harry, but you're gonna make a couple key mistakes before this. I don't want to do that chapter, but I'm gonna have to do that chapter. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading, and I hope you do too. See you next time.